I had more of an ego of, oh, I have this idea for a business and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to make all these millions. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. And so, you gain wisdom after you have experience. But before you have experience, you think you're going to figure everything out and you think it's going to be that straight line up, and reality sets in. So, well, I think if you're a company that's raising money, you should always raise more than you think you need, because there's all of what we're talking about. There's a common theme here is expect the unexpected, right? So we had a product that the first product we had challenges with. We ended up pulling it off the market. We spent more money in R&D during that period of time than we anticipated. So it's always better to raise money, and honestly to be less sensitive about the percentage that you own, because you still want to make sure you're in a driver's seat of your ownership as a founder. But when you're hypersensitive to how much percentage you own, you could actually put yourself in a position of weakness, that it doesn't matter that you own more of a percentage. If you don't have the money to dig yourself out of a hole, it's not worth that much, right?
Bill, I am so pumped to talk to you for a bunch of selfish reasons. First of all, I want to make sure I have a story correct. All right. If I remember correctly, you said on Built with Rob, the podcast with Rob Dyrdek, a partner, influencer, investor in your company, that you set out to have $100 million company in like the goal was 100 million in 18 months or something like that. Would you clarify if I'm remembering the story correctly?
The 18 months would be very impressive. I mean, that our friend Josh Bizzoni and Joe Marion, those guys pulled off 100 million in their first 12 months.
Yeah.
That is an incredibly aspirational story. We aspire to be 100 million plus, not necessarily in 18 months, but coming up. Our Wi-Fi password for everyone at our company, everyone that comes in, is 100 million sales, exclamation point. So we it's something that's in our psyche. It's something that every time anyone logs into our Wi-Fi, they know what we're about. But it's more about not the sales or what the value of our company is going to be. But if we're doing 100 million in sales, we're doing more than that. We're making a massive impact. We're making it easier for people to eat healthy products because they taste great. We're making it easier for people to incorporate more plant-based foods, not because they're being preached at or judged, but because they're finding delicious foods that are nutritious, that can help solve a problem for them. And so that 100 million in sales is a gateway to making a huge impact.
And if I remember correctly, and I hope I'm not disclosing anything I'm not allowed to disclose, but you've already passed $100 million valuation. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. I mean, we don't disclose our sales publicly, but there was a financing that was disclosed last year that was in that range. Yes.
Yes. And in what time frame did that valuation occur? Meaning like from origination to valuation?
Yeah. I mean, we incorporated before we even started getting down into business, but really in 2018 is when we went into R&D mode. And, like any journey, most entrepreneurial journeys are never straight lines up. There's always the zig and the zag. And it's when there's downs, it's how you navigate those challenges and overcome them. And we've had our share. But 2018, we were in R&D. 2019, we launched our first product. And one of our biggest challenges during that time was we had this amazing product. It was a product that tasted like crispy bacon, but it was made out of mushrooms. It was the most complicated thing to make. And if the manufacturer, it's like a recipe. If you don't follow it right, you're going to get something totally different. If you don't follow a process right, you're going to get something totally different. That happened with our first product. We ended up having to pull it off the market and pivot into the next product and race to get that next product out. So we didn't lose as much momentum. And, we've fought our share of battles. We have, challenges small and big almost every single day. So we celebrate our wins along the way, but we have a bigger vision and a bigger mission that
and that's one of the things I wanted to chat about today. Like right now, this is my favorite product that you have. The Hella Hot Pig Out rinds, and they're delicious and hard to open.
There's a tear strip. There's a tear strip. There you go.
Bill. All right, so like these,
another shot of whiskey, and that you would have pulled that off much easier.
That's right. Yeah. It weakens my arm. These are delicious. They're my favorite product, but I know the first product didn't go as expected.
Yeah.
And most people, when you got $100 million vision, you just raised capital from people like me. I invested $100,000 in your company.
Yeah.
You've got people counting on you. You've got a vision. You've got a team. First product doesn't land. First product doesn't smash it out of the park like you hoped it would. Most people would see that as a reason to get discouraged, close up shop, run away scared. You were like, next product up, and these crushed it. And the third product did exceptionally well too. So yeah,
look at that.
Yeah,
happen to have it right there. Look at this baby. 7 grams of protein a serving and a good source of 20 vitamins and minerals: iron, calcium, B12, D. So, yeah, you know, I think as an entrepreneur or just a person living life, right, which I think we all are, right, there's always challenges in our relationships, in our family, in finances, as an entrepreneur, in our companies, right? And it's not the challenges we have, it's how we react to those challenges. We all have challenges, right? And we probably all know people that are miserable, and when you hear what they're miserable about, you're like, that's why you're miserable? Like the smallest little things, and they get overwhelmed and depressed. And then there are people that, you know, they get their legs amputated and they're just happy to be alive, right? And so I think it's all about your mindset as an entrepreneur in how you deal with challenges, and, you know, how you manage your relationships too. Because as an entrepreneur, if you take on investors, you're responsible to your investors. If you have vendors or retailers or customers, you're responsible to them. So you need to be honest, and you need to express what's going on, but you also need to have a plan and the mindset to overcome it in a positive way, and not wallow in your problems, but figure out how you're going to solve the problems and find solutions that could even be better than you thought you were on the path to go.
Bill, there's a piece of this story that I'm missing, and it is when I work with a lot of our members inside of the Capitalism Incubator, I talk about you as somebody who has really opened my mind to the benefit of raising capital, of raising money, setting a really big vision and going for it. You started this with the idea of having $100 million business. You raised capital confidently from people who were able to contribute to the company. And the thing that's missing for me is most of the people I hang out with are bootstrap entrepreneurs. The idea of raising money is intimidating to people, not because they don't think they'll be able to raise it, but because there is a burden to the investors. There's almost like a tenseness of, if I raise capital, I don't have the freedom that I think entrepreneurship is going to give to me. I now have a boss, and it's called investors. Where was your confidence? Why were you so confident that you were going to execute the vision, and therefore willing to take on other people's capital? And why did you decide to do that when you were confident it was going to be $100 million vision and not keep all of it yourself? Would you walk us through that mindset?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I started off my entrepreneurial career as a bootstrapped entrepreneur, and I thought it was cool. I was president, CEO of a company, and I owned 100% of it. But when you are a one-person operation of your company, then you have limitations of how much you could do yourself. And the same thing is with capital. And capital not only gives you resources to grow and to expand your business in a faster way, but if you're smart about raising capital, you don't just raise money. And it's not just money that is interchangeable with who your investors are. If you pick investors that are strategic and can add value, then if you own a lesser percent, but your investors are helping you grow faster and opening up doors to whatever it might be, retailers, manufacturers, suppliers, celebrities, whatever it might be, whatever the business that you're in, you're amplifying if it's better to own 20% of $100 million business than 100% of a $5 million business, right?
And amen. My buddy Brian Lee said, like, I asked him a similar question. He's like, I'm out to build billion-dollar companies. Do you think I'm going to care if I only own 10%? Like, well, I mean, well, when you put it that way.
Well, look, I think, if you look at billionaires, right? Everyone on this call, there are probably many billionaire icons that people look at and they look up to, and they look at their achievements, and they look at what their quotes are and what they read and what they eat and what their meditation habits are, right? We all look at, how does Elon Musk stay up, and only sleep 3 hours a day, and is, and the CEO of how many companies, and, they're all billion-dollar companies, and, what did Steve Jobs used to eat for breakfast, and all these things, and what books does Warren Buffett read? We all want to know that, right? But almost every single self-made billionaire has raised money. There's a recent exception.
Yes, a recent exception of Sarah Blakely selling
Sarah Blakely.
$1.2 billion happened yesterday.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah, 1.2 bill. She owned it all.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable accomplishment. I mean, it's very, very, very few people that are able to do that, right? Yeah. And she grew that over time for a long period of time, and it was a slow and steady growth to get to where she was and where she attained. Most businesses, if you're in certain products, you have to move with speed because other companies come with similar products or similar market. And so, if you are wondering what Warren Buffett is reading and what all these billionaires are doing, you should wonder how they got to be a billionaire. And if not for raising capital, almost all of them would not have become billionaires.
That's true. I mean, that is why Warren Buffett is one of the richest people alive and gets to read all day and go drink coffee, because it's not it didn't start with his money, right? He grew other people's capital.
He drinks a lot of Coca-Cola as well. That's his brand that he's a big investor in. He eats McDonald's all the time. I mean, he lives and breathes the companies that he invests in. But yeah, I mean, you could do so much yourself. We all know that, right? We all have limited time in the day. We all have, limited experience, limited resources. Most of us build a team because the team has other expertise and experience that we don't have, and they complement us as an entrepreneur. Money does the same thing. So yes, you have to manage your team. You have to hire your team. You have to deal with issues that come up with your team. You have to do the same thing with investors. But the trade-off, you have to ask yourself if the trade-off is worth it. Because if you're looking at being a single person entrepreneur company, or have your own team but own 100%, and you might be happy doing that, and you should do that, right? If that's what you want to do. But if you want to grow fast and and if you're hiring a team, you could look at raising money very similar to building out your team. You're bringing in expertise and resources to help you grow faster and to bring points of perspective and experience and skills and talent that you don't have.
Now, I'm asking this question selfishly because I am preparing for a raise on a project that I am about to pursue. And I'm curious, when you were having those conversations with investors, what was it about your vision or your plan that other people bought into? Because it seemed to me from the outside, every time you talk about this, it sounds like the raising of the capital is the easy part. It's almost like there's you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's lots of relationships, and I remember like people were introducing me to you and telling me why the opportunity was great, and it seemed like a pretty seamless process from the outside. Yeah. So what was it about what you communicated to investors that made them eager to back this project?
So, I'm someone with a bunch of experience, right? And I got a few gray hairs, and I've had, you're in Texas, so I've had my share of rodeos, right? And so I think I have developed some wisdom, but most importantly, and we're talking about raising capital, the most important capital is human capital, relationship capital. And so I've built up a lot of really great relationships over the years that trust me. They know I have integrity. They know, that I've had success, and that that those become easier. And raising capital is usually never easy, but they become easier. I mean, I've had my share of capital raises in the past where I grinded it out and I hustled, and it was a numbers game, and got a lot of no's to get to the S's, but persevered, and it wasn't as easy back then. But also, I happen to be in a space that's hot. I have a co-founder that is the only person that's been at $2 billion startups in the space, in the plant-based food space. And I've had.
And when you say the space is hot, you mean plant-based snacks,
No,
high
not
protein
snacks, not
snacks.
snacks, food. So my co-founder led R&D at Beyond Meat for 4.5 years, led the team that created the Beyond Burger. He did all the early products himself. He co-founded what is now called Just, a company that makes a plant-based egg. So he's been an iconic figure, kind of behind the scenes iconic figure. And I've had 2 big exits and, other smaller exits. And so, we have pedigrees, right? And, if Bill Gates were to, well, he's got some challenges right now in his life, but if Bill Gates,
PR problems.
Yes. But if he went to start a software company right now, the valuation of his software company with just an idea is going to be a lot higher than yours or mine or anyone listening to this call, because of his experience and what he's been able to achieve. And so I'm certainly no Bill Gates, but when you have successes under your belt and you act with integrity and you have relationships, then people are going to be more inclined to get behind you. And so I always take the approach that, add value wherever you can to whoever you can when you have no agenda, because then when you do have an agenda, you can tap into those relationships and they're going to be more than happy to support you in some type of way.
You followed what we call the owner's model at capitalism.com, which is you seem to focus, again, from the outside, on 3 key areas, the same 3 key areas that we talk about with our students, which is capital, product and operations, and then audience. And your partners seem to complement one of these 3 areas. You built the team for product and operations. You took on outside capital. And then some of those partners like Rob and Snoop Dogg had audiences that they could immediately get the word out about the product. How important was that audience piece in order to get early momentum, distribution, and active customers?
Yeah, well, on the product side, you definitely would not want to eat any food product that I make. So, you have to understand your strengths, but also understand your weaknesses and complement your strengths with other people that can fill your weaknesses, right? In terms of the audience, so we're in an era of influencer marketing, right? Influencer marketing has gotten very expensive, especially over the last 1.5 years or so, because all the big brands that used to have their own .com websites and retail stores or web stores, many of them wouldn't want to compete against their own customers, which were the retailers, right? So they didn't put as much money behind marketing to their own site. They spent more of their focus on distribution at retail. Now, with changing consumer behavior as a result of COVID, in particular in food and beverage, bigger brands are spending billions of dollars. And part of those billions of dollars aren't just on Facebook, which has driven up the cost for everyone in Facebook advertising and other online advertising, but the cost of influencers is astronomical right now. So,
Yes.
like there are TikTokers that you didn't even know about 6 months, and now we're getting 7-figure deals for real. And so my approach when we started was, instead of paying influencers for an uncertain ROI and coming out of pocket potentially for a lot of money, I wanted to attract celebrities and influencers as investors. And so I knew a bunch myself, but through my network and just networking skills, was referred to many others. So I was in Rob Dyrdek, Lewis Howes, who's I think a friend of yours as well, and a friend of mine, and he introduced me to Rob Dyrdek. Someone else that I knew introduced me to the manager of Snoop Dogg. And so I leveraged a lot of those relationships to meet celebrities and influencers, and then we were able to attract several of them. We have probably about 40 celebrity and influencer investors that we have now.
And Bill, so it sounds like your job, at least at this point, is mostly a chief relationship officer. Is most of your job building and managing relationships?
Yeah, it's a good. I like that title. I might steal it from you, but yeah. I mean, I think every entrepreneur, every founder should be in the relationship business first before anything else.
Amen.
Relationships are the most important like it's always amazing when you see. I literally today we were recruiting someone in marketing who accepted our offer, and then after accepting our offer, did a dishonest thing negotiating with another company, and then ended up taking an offer with another company.
Mm-hmm.
He literally sent me an email today, months after he went to this other company, and wanting now to reconnect about potentially joining forces, right? And so, like, I spoke to someone on my team today. I'm like, I'm not even replying to this guy, because if you don't act in integrity once, you can't be trusted to act with integrity other times, right? And so, relationships are the most important thing. If you want to find, whether it's celebrities or open doors to retailers, or anything, like, there's so many things that we have needs as entrepreneurs, and where better to find it than through your relationship, through your network, rather than just scratching the surface and trying to hustle new relationships that you don't have any points of references, and you're going to step in a lot of shit and make a lot of bad choices to find the good ones. You could shortcut that by leveraging your network and leveraging your relationships, and that's why building those relationships before you need them is critical.
That's exactly right. How did I get the opportunity to invest in a private raise for a new company that has more than 5x my investment since I started 2 years ago because of an introduction? How did I meet the person that got me that opportunity? Through an introduction. Like, it is always relationships.
Yes.
Sometimes the things that my team doesn't see are the 9 lunches that I have with people knocking on doors for one door to open. That's the thing that my audience at capitalism.com doesn't see, is that most of my job is pursuing new opportunities through relationships. This week, the opportunity to acquire a company that I would like to acquire came in front of me through relationships. I'm building out kind of my board of advisors for something like that. They're all people that I know, my key investors that I would like to partner with, people that I know, or people that I am one relationship away from. The only reason why I'm able to pursue an opportunity like that, or pursue some of the other things that we are doing over here, is because I've spent 10 years building relationships. I used to think it was all hard skills. It was being able to sell. It was writing good copy. It was coming up with ideas. It was the right podcasting equipment. And all those things matter a little bit. But the relationships that you build open up all of those doors and make things a lot easier and faster. Bill, I know that when you launched Outstanding, for a while, I don't know what the numbers are. You don't disclose those publicly, but I know for a while you weren't profitable. And I know that you didn't have an infinite run rate right from launch. So is that stressful for you to take on capital to launch a product? And again, that first product did not crush it. The second 2 did. Is that a stressful time? And if so, what did you do to get things on the right track to where now you have literally a valuation of over $100 million?
Yeah. Well, I think, again, back to mindset, right? Because, when you have challenges, you're stressed only if you don't know what to do next, or how to process the challenge. Usually stress comes from being stuck and feeling, something didn't go your way and it didn't meet your expectations, and you don't have a plan, or you don't know what to do to navigate. And that's
Can
where
anyone
you
in
get
the
stuck.
green room relate to that? Go like this. Yeah, there it is. Yes.
So, I usually don't get stressed over things when they don't go my way, because I expect the unexpected. And when things don't happen the way they do, you have to be accountable. You have to talk to people. You have to, let people know what is unfolding, and what your plan is, and bounce off some ideas. I mean, Rob Dyrdek has become a member of our board because, hey, what's up, Sean? Rob Dyrdek has become a boss. A boss. I'm reading what Sean wrote. Rob has joined our board, and Rob has joined our board not just because he's an investor, but because I value his counsel and I value his input. And so, the relationships don't just open doors, but if you have good relationships with their unique experience and wisdom, then you have a support system as an entrepreneur to help you navigate things, or to be a sounding board when you have ideas, or whether it's an idea for a product or an idea for a marketing campaign, or you're going through some challenges and you're figuring it out. Those relationships also can be extremely valuable in that way. So I don't usually get stressed over things like that. But I always, what's that?
Because you have counsel and you're ready to adjust when you get punched in the face.
Yeah, you're going to get punched in the face. Like if you're expecting a straight line up as an entrepreneur, you're in the wrong business, because that's not reality. And it's very rare that you have, this kind of thing. There's always some kind of challenge, right? And it's usually the ones that are the biggest, where relationships are built. Most of us can relate to, whether it's in our personal relationships or with our friends, with our business relationships. People appreciate when you're straightforward, when you're honest about things, but when you also have a plan to what you're going to do to how to meet those challenges. People don't appreciate when you avoid them. And many of us, just from the way we have grown up, many of us, when there's a conflict, we try to avoid the conflict, and we don't talk to other people about the conflict, because we want to solve it on our own and then tell them, either never tell them or tell them, oh, we had this issue, but I figured it out. But what people appreciate is being told the truth, being told what you're dealing with. And most people who are investors or partners understand that no company's journey is a straight line. I mean, I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day that talked about the pivots of many successful companies, and some of these I wasn't even aware of. That Instagram apparently started as a whiskey app for friends to share whiskey ideas, and Netflix, of course, started out competing with Blockbuster selling DVDs, and they pivoted into being essentially a studio and a content creator. And so I think that most people avoid conflicts, and they don't express themselves, and they don't have a plan out of it, and they get stressed over, what do I tell this person or do I not tell this person? And honestly, like, the best approach is just being straightforward with people, being honest. That's how you build relationships. That's people appreciate when you have a fight with an interpersonal relationship and you're able to resolve it. Usually those relationships get stronger, not weaker.
Right.
The ones that are just on the surface, those are the ones that are weak. The ones that you hear, these people that they never have a conflict, they never get into an argument. It's like, that's usually those relationships lack depth, because it's how you resolve the conflict that creates connection and creates even the wisdom that, hey, if things happen again, we know we can get through it. Like, you have business partners, I have business partners. The best business partners know that when you go in the trenches with people, you could trust them and that you're going to figure it out because you've done it before. And when you don't talk to people because you're afraid of the conflict or you get stressed out, that's where you've already lost.
Bill, you are in Whole Foods, you're in my local Wheatsville, you're in a bunch of retail stores, you're on Amazon, you have your own funnels. Which of these skills did you know or are you good at versus handing off to your team and letting them figure it out?
Well, as an entrepreneur, my strengths have been in marketing and sales. And so, I had a company about 10 years ago where we ran 30-minute infomercials, and, I have a pretty good understanding of how to tell a story and make something compelling and appeal to people. Taking a food product, this is my first food company. I've never been in a food company. So taking a food product to the markets that we're in Walmart, we're in Kroger, we're in Albertsons Safeway, we're in 7-Eleven, we're in Whole Foods, Wegmans, all these retailers. If it were left to me to figure that out, we wouldn't have been in any of those in all likelihood. And so, again, you have to know what your strengths are, and you have to figure out even like where are your needs? Not only me identifying that I need someone that can help get into retail sales, but what is that position called? What is that experience? Do they need to be in the exact category of snacks or other products that we're doing? to be effective at what we're doing. I had to ask those questions and get answers to know what I was even recruiting for. But then, yes, I mean, I recruited a team that complements me and, allows me to, hang out and drink wine on podcasts.
Amen, brother. I'm going to ask this question again, selfishly, because it's on my mind for a project that I am pursuing. How did you know how much capital that you needed in order to get things off the ground? And I know you've done a couple rounds up to this point. So did you know that you were going to have multiple raises? Was that on kind of your vision? How did you know to plan for that and make those decisions?
Well, I think if you're a company that's raising money, you should always raise more than you think you need, because there's all of what we're talking about. There's a common theme here is expect the unexpected, right? So we had a product that the first product we had challenges with. We ended up pulling it off the market. We spent more money in R&D during that period of time than we anticipated. So it's always better to raise money and honestly to be less sensitive about the percentage that you own, because you still want to make sure you're in a driver's seat of your ownership as a founder. But when you're hypersensitive to how much percentage you own, you could actually put yourself in a position of weakness, that it doesn't matter that you own more of a percentage. If you don't have the money to dig yourself out of a hole, it's not worth that much, right? So I would always do projections. We now have a VP of finance that handles that, but previously, I would always do projections on based on what we expected our capital needs to be, and always raise more than what we expected, but also with a strategy that as we continue to build and grow, then we're going to get a higher valuation in all likelihood, and then we're going to be able to raise bigger amounts of money. And so there's an art and a science to doing that. And so the science is projections and comps, valuation of other companies that are in a similar space at a similar time of their growth or more advanced in their growth. And then there's the art of knowing, how much more should you raise than you think you should, and what is that balance of ownership versus capital.
Bill, I don't usually go to the green room this early, but we have a completely full green room of people who want to ask you something. Sarah, John Dodge, Andy, Alexandra, Paulina, Iggy, Damien, Alex. So what I want to go over to the green room in a second, but before I do that, can you tell me, have you ever failed at something, Bill?
Of course.
Okay, tell me about your favorite failure. Because you've got 4 exits on your resume, and now a company that has achieved a $100 million valuation in 3 years. So what is your favorite failure?
I embrace failure, and you could look at failure as things didn't work out, but if you embrace it, your failure is you're getting closer to your success, right? Everyone knows in sales that the more no's, as you're getting no's, you're getting closer to your yeses, right? So failures get you closer to your successes. So
tell me your favorite one that really knocked you on your butt.
Well, I mean, it was probably the first one, because when I was a new entrepreneur soon after college, I had more of an ego of, I have this idea for a business and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to make all these millions. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. Right. And so, you gain wisdom after you have experience, but before you have experience, you think you're going to figure everything out and you think it's going to be that straight line up, and reality sets in. So that first one, I borrowed money from my father, and it was an uncomfortable amount for him. And I didn't know how to express the risks at that time. I only told him, look, I generated I had purchase orders of over $1 million in this business. And I was only focused on what can go right. I wasn't focused on what could go wrong, because I didn't know what could go wrong at that point. And it failed miserably. It was U.S. flags during one of the wars that we had, and there was a huge patriotism. And I contracted out. There was a shortage of flags. I contracted silk screeners, and I bought all the components of the flags. And when I got a sample box before they were shipped to these retailers, that I did a mass fax campaign at the time. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. They were printed unevenly. There was glue on the sticks, the wrong color. There was like a fluorescent color red for our American flag. And
That doesn't end well.
that $1 million of sales that I generated on paper evaporated. The tens of millions that I was expecting to go after that completely went away. I had now a conflict with my father because I owed him a sizable amount of money that was uncomfortable for him. But it was my favorite, though, because I learned the lesson. It humbled me into knowing that things aren't going to go exactly the way I want. And so, I've shared some of my own philosophy of expecting the unexpected and how I deal with challenges and things like that. That was the first business experience that I lost money on, had challenges in close family relationships, lost the millions that I thought I was going to make. And, even at the time I was in my early 20s, had the humility of, talking even to my friends of failure. Right. But those became some of the greatest lessons for me that now are part of the philosophy that I have when I approach anything else in business.
All right, I'm going to come over to the green room. We have a full room. I don't know if we're going to get to all of you. So if you've got something burning on your mind, I want you to wave at me, and I'll take the first person that waves at me. Let's go, Sarah. You're up. Sarah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good evening. Welcome to Wine with Wine and Brewskis with Bill.
Hello. So I just listened to this, and I'm absorbing everything I can because I've got my first product literally being shipped to me, and I have had a business previously, but it was an accounting business, and so it was really sweat equity. I am truly in a panic because I know that there are things that I don't know. And do you just really trust the process and hire people that you interview carefully, or do you move forward knowing that you know that there are going to be pitfalls, and which one do you rely more on?
You said your first product is on the way, right? So there's plenty of things you don't know, and there's a lot of things that you don't need to know. So tell us where you are in this process right now. It sounds like you're in total startup mode with prototype and product on the way. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So what often happens, I'll take this one first, is what often happens is that entrepreneurs in that mode of realizing that they don't know everything / anything, they try to go learn everything / anything, right? And so you're hedging for things that you don't know yet are going to be problems. This can actually be very damaging because you start going down rabbit holes and fixing problems that you don't need to solve.
Right.
Which is why I think why a lot of our students are successful is because we bring them back to, hey, right here, the thing that is right in front of you is go take a damn sale on Amazon, or like go put up your darn Shopify store, or go book one relationship with somebody who has an audience, or go build the Facebook group that becomes your launch list, or go raise the first 100K that you need to fund the purchase order. It is like, what's right here, not what's over here. Yes, vision. Yes, strategy. Yes, roadmap. But we're right here right now. And that's all we got to focus on, because you can't knock over that domino over there. You got to knock over this domino to get to that domino. And so many people are like, I don't really want to knock over any dominoes because I got to know how it all lines up down the road. And that's what I'm picking up from you. There's a little bit of that rather than like your purchase order on the way. Awesome. Time to build an audience or book some relationships.
Oh, I am. And I'm making connections with influencers and trying to set up meetings to get in front of their audience, and building my audience on Instagram. And I'm just good. I know that there's so much, and that's the analytic in me because I do accounting. I know that there's so much more. Like I could probably build my website, but I'm not focusing on that because I'm building my audience, and that's what I'm focusing on, kind of like following the class.
My opinion is that you are doing the right things and you learn real fast when you start taking sales.
Kind of a crash course.
Yes. Bill, how would you take this one?
Well, congrats on taking the leap and jumping in and starting your own business. That's got to be, are you excited about that part?
I am. I'm a little terrified. It started with my mom. She was on oxygen therapy, and she passed in June. But we had this goal and this vision to help people, and I'm in it too because I cared for her, and I can appreciate being the caregiver. How many challenges people face when they care for somebody on oxygen. And so it's my goal too. And so I'm just carrying it forward because I care deeply. But I'm terrified that if I don't do the right thing, then I fail in being able to help people.
Then
and I don't want to fail.
I'm sorry, it's Bill's time. Sorry.
No, no, no. I mean, look, first of all, sorry for your loss, but
you.
it sounds like you've been inspired to do something that can help people and that can be a profitable business for you. So focus on why you started this and what the impact can be that you can make, and expect that not everything is going to go your way and go the way you expect. And those aren't failures. They're only failures if you don't learn from them. So you're going to have a whole bunch of learning opportunities. At a certain point in your life, you didn't know accounting, and you had to learn accounting, and you had to figure out accounting. And you had to, if you dealt with clients, you probably had clients that, sometimes were difficult and challenging. And so, you can't always get everything that you desire, but that's why things are, why most people don't make that leap. But when you embrace that things don't work out the way you want, instead of viewing it as a failure, I would encourage you to view it as a learning opportunity and embrace those opportunities, because the same way you learned accounting and became very, I'm sure, very successful in doing accounting, you're going to be the same way at this business. So give yourself the space and the patience, and don't beat yourself up when things that don't go your way, and focus on really why you did this and why you started this. And if it takes you longer, or there are bumps in the road, you're going to feel much more gratifying when you're able to overcome those challenges and when you learn those lessons to put yourself on the path to succeed.
Sarah, I wouldn't normally say this, but Bill got me drunk tonight. He made it with. He just keeps pouring whiskey in my glass, So, Sarah, I think it's important. This is harder for dudes, and women have an easier time with this one. Is recognizing that they're gonna suck at the beginning, like recognizing that there are things that you don't know and you are gonna get punched in the face.
Well, I was a professional tennis player in my younger years, and so it's really hard for me not to be like winning, and that is really hard.
Were you a professional tennis player, or did you lose some games?
I lost, but I was good. I was, I played the junior national of Yugoslavia for my senior year of high school.
So you were naturally talented, but you weren't always a champion.
Right.
You lost along the way, and you got better. Right.
But I'm very competitive, and that's the part of me where I feel like I'm doing this. And if I put this foot forward and I fail, I'm not only letting myself down and losing money, I'm letting other people down. So how do I not do that?
Well, what happens when you don't get that first serve in? You get another chance. You get another chance, right?
Right.
What's great about business is you don't just have two chances. Serving, you only have two chances. You either get if you don't get the first one in, you have to get the second one in, right?
Right.
Business, you have multiple chances. And if you see it from that lens, it'll take the stress off of you. And the competitiveness that you have is good, because you're going to be challenging yourself. But I think, in my opinion, from what I've heard, it's more of just the mindset of putting yourself in a position to succeed. And succeeding means that not always do we get the first serve in, but sometimes that second one is the ace.
I've already got my second product lined up. I'm working with a developer to make it. I'm not successful yet, but I'm already at that point of like, I'm working on the second product. So I don't know if the first one's going to do great on sales, but I'm looking down the road already.
You're right on pace with Bill, because Bill's first product in this one didn't hit out of the park either. But number 2 and 3 made it over the net.
Okay. So expect success long term. Also expect to get punched in the face along the way. Okay. You're getting into a boxing ring. You're expecting to win, and you're going to take some licks. Okay.
And that's how it's going to be.
Okay.
We got,
you got this, Sarah. You got this, Sarah. You're going to do this for your mom. You're going to do this for all the people you're going to have an impact in. And even if you got some bumps in the road, don't be discouraged. Keep going. And you've been called to do this, so you're going to make it work, and you're going to figure it out.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Sarah.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to my man, Tony, bringing you on. Tony, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Nice shirt.
Thank you, right? Represent, How are you guys doing?
Outstanding.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too.
This is the diversity hour of Wine with Wyan.
There we go. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, you mean because I'm the one that doesn't have a beard?
That's it. That's right. Everyone's representing
else, right?
So I wanted to ask a question. Ryan's been helping me a lot when it comes to creating my brand, and I jump-started my business, and it was like originally like an Amazon business, and I didn't want to go through that. I was like, I need to build a brand. So Ryan helped me out in figuring out who my person was, and I basically am working on a brand that's like fitness for mental health, and we're going about this process where, since I already have some products that are launched, I'm seeing since I have products. I have products that are already launched, so I have to and I'm trying to get investors on board. So I'm in this situation where I have products, I have some sales, but it's it's a different process in that I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like I have to look for an investor for a certain dollar amount. Like Ryan mentioned to me, he called it the reverse raise, where it's like a 15.
I made up that term in the moment while I was talking to you about this, but yes, I did call it a reverse.
I like it. I like it though. So he basically opted. It's like $50,000 for a 1 million valuation, and then in my second funding round, I would buy out that stake that the person would invest in, or they have a first right of refusal. So essentially, I'm just trying to figure out how I basically find somebody that is looking to invest in a brand. I mean, I can go on social media and stuff, but I want to
Tony, before we go too deep here, because I know I'm pretty familiar with your business.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've worked on some of this stuff, and so I'm caught up. But what I want to know here is I think there's some subtext to what you are saying, which is that it sounds like you're looking to cast a new vision. Like there's what you have that has some sales, and you've got a vision, and there's a gap there, and that's where the investor comes in. And so there's like this turning of the ship that needs to happen. Am I picking up on what you're saying correctly, or is there something else?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so for you right now, is your brand that is the real vision that you want to grow into? Is that what you've got right now? Are you making a pivot here? Is it completely different? Like where are we in that?
So since I do have like products that we had before, I'm trying to kind of focus on really serving my specific person now. So I'm going in this like pivoting direction. Just like, I'm not really going in the opposite direction, but I'm kind of just turning it slightly. And I'm really trying to focus on who my person is, and really create products around them, and really focus on advertising towards them.
Okay, I'm with you. So the thing that's missing for me in hearing you talk is your question is, how do you find that person who puts up the initial capital? And it almost sounds like you're asking, Ryan, how do I find the one girl that's going to make me happy? It's like, I mean, you could go down the street and there's girls, right? And there's a pretty good chance that like one of them could make you happy, right? So like, what are you doing tonight? And if tomorrow when you wake up and you go to the coffee shop, there's a good chance there's some girls in there. And there's also a chance that some of them might make you happy. So there is finding the person looks a lot like holding out the phone and making a list of 10 people. You've heard me say this 100 times. Make a list of 10 people, ask them for advice, And what happens if you ask for advice, Tony?
Somebody's going to refer, either they're going to be invested in it or they're going to refer someone else.
If you ask for money, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you get money. That's the rule. I mean, it comes down to that. Bill, how did you find your first backers?
So what I would answer your question in a couple of ways. So the way you first described the structure of finding someone to invest 50 grand and giving them the opportunity to buy them out, what you're doing is shifting the value proposition of that investor from the opportunity of your business and where your business can go to you being successful in finding the next investor. Because for them to buy into that, they have to feel confident that you're going to find the next investor, right? And you've taken away the value prop of the upside of your business. So to me, that is not the way to go, because if someone's going to take risk, then they want the big return, and they don't want someone to pay them back or have a capped return, and then rely on you to raise the money to take them out, right? So I think you're selling yourself short, in my opinion, with that type of structure. If you have a business that you feel strongly that's going to grow and is compelling, and I don't know what your products or your services or anything else, but if you believe in it, then you should convey that to your potential investors. Where you find your first investors when you're at an early stage of your growth are your friends, your family, or their referrals. Because I just described, Ryan asked me what was my biggest, the failure that I liked the most. And I told him the first one that I had, because I learned a lot of lessons. And that one of those lessons was I borrowed money from my father, and I didn't tell him about the risks. And then I had a conflict. What I've experienced is that most people, when it comes to raising their first round of financing, even if it's 50 grand, 25 grand, whatever it might be, they are afraid to go to their friends and their family because they're afraid of conflict. And so what you cannot control is how other people are going to react. What you can control is how you present your opportunity, both on the upside potential and the risks. Yes. And if you explain the risks and tell them, look, you might lose all your money, but if this thing does well, and I'm going to give it my all, I'm not going to sleep, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it successful, then your 50 grand can turn into $1 million or whatever it might be. Most people will appreciate that. And if they take a loss, they take a loss. And you've explained what the risks are. If they have a problem with you after that, then that's their issue, that you've clearly explained the risk. If they're upset with you, unless you've done something, you've taken that 50 grand and you went to Cabo, then but most people are afraid of conflict. And so they, instead of going to people they know, that know them and know that, like, I'm sure most people that know you know that you're a guy that's going to make things happen and that they're going to trust, right? And look, not everyone has friends and family that can write a $50,000 check or even, piece it together with their friends and family. But everyone has friends and family that know someone or know someone that knows someone. And that's the beginning of how you network, is through the people you first know, rather than trying to go outside of your network to find people you don't know just because you're afraid of conflict. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what you're doing, but that's what most people do in that case. They avoid conflict and they avoid going to people they know.
And Tony, I mean, there are people in the incubator, myself included, who are eagerly looking for more deals. The thing is, you've got to believe it first.
Yeah.
And you've got to believe it more than everybody else, which means, and this is why, this is why the vision part of the process matters so much. Like, Bill believed in this first, which is why when his first product didn't smash it out of the park, he still got up the next day and said, next one up. Like, we got this, because he believed it first. He believed it more than anybody. So, like, you've got to believe in your brand before everybody else does, so that you are motivated enough, inspired enough to be able to carry through on the vision. Whereas most people are more like, I hope, and I need investor capital in order to validate that this is a good idea before I move forward. And that is the opposite of how it works. Complete opposite. You feel me?
Yeah, I feel you on that one for sure.
Did you hit a nerve right there?
Yeah, it did.
What's going through your head now?
So yeah, the first thing that came to mind, honestly, was like, for me, getting into the incubator as well, I felt like one of the things that was holding me back the most was relationships, just building the relationships. So this basically hit the spot. This live call hit the spot because I'm like, all right, I got to go out there and get it, and just being in the incubator for just a few months, I built so many relationships already. And I'm like, just by being myself and just doing my thing, documenting my journey and stuff, it's been amazing. So I think I just needed that affirmation that I should continue to go about this process more than anything. And a lot of it had to do with this ego of myself, where it's like, oh, I'm going to do it. Before I would tell myself, oh, I'm going to do it by myself. I'm going to figure it out by myself. But now it's like, I can't do it alone, so.
Yeah. You learned that lesson real quick. You learned that lesson very, very quick.
Well, you knew that already, though. You joined Ryan's group. You're getting support. You're getting ideas. You just gotta get out of your head and just make it happen.
Exactly.
We got your back, Johnny.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you too. Thank you, Bill.
Of course.
All right, I'm gonna come over to Alexandra. You ready? All right, let's go. Hi, Alexandra.
Hi there.
Hey.
So I am curious to know more about how you originally casted your vision. Like when you started off down this road with something that most people you're probably talking to knew nothing about, how did you make it so that you believed it enough and that you could communicate that to them?
In terms of this company, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when we started, now plant-based is this huge trend, right? Everyone knows about it. You're seeing, you can go to Burger King and get an Impossible Whopper. You can go to Carl's Jr. and get a Beyond Carl's Jr. burger. And it's kind of becoming ubiquitous in a lot of ways. There's a lot of reasons why people are seeking more plant-based environment or other reasons. But when we started, it was the hippies and the people in LA and, the freaks. And I've been plant-based personally for 31 years. And most of those 31 years, people viewed me as, you're plant-based, you're a freak. And now all of a sudden I'm cool, right? So we didn't go into a trend. We went into something that we had an uphill battle initially. And so if you're trying to convert people into an idea, if you're trying to enroll people into something that is counterintuitive to the way they want to do things, if they have to incorporate new habits, right? Most companies, if anyone on this call starts a company and your product or your service requires people to have a new habit to incorporate in their lifestyle for them to be able to buy your product or your service, you are fighting an uphill and a challenging battle. So for us, the way we looked at our business was, we're a plant-based food company, and we're at that time in an uphill battle, but we're going to create products that have a mass appeal, because even most snacks are plant-based, right? And they're not always replacing dairy or meat, but most of them are plant-based. We're just going to create products that lead with great taste and nutrition, and plant-based becomes secondary, not the primary. And that is how we thought of how we're going to make what we're doing relatable to anyone, not just people who are vegan or vegetarian or have a certain bent towards what we're doing, but to position it in a way that would be appealing to everyone.
Okay.
And Bill, what led you for that to be a desire? What inspired that to be the vision?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've been plant-based for 31 years, right? And that's my thing. And I don't judge people. I think, yes, Oreos are vegan. Yes, by accident. And, I mean, some of those chemicals are a little bit debatable, but yes, vegan. So I mentioned when Ryan talked about the financial goals that we have, the impact that we can make is pretty significant. I mean, for whatever reason, it's a controversy, but climate change is a real thing. And one of the leading causes of climate change are greenhouse gases that are caused by factory farming. cow farts, actually. And so, you know, there's a lot of money from Silicon Valley that's been pouring into trying to solve animal agriculture by creating plant-based alternatives. And so we know we can make an impact. If we get more people to eat our products over products that are meat or dairy, it's going to help the environment. It's going to help people's health. It's going to help animal welfare. And so I'm driven by that. But if I'm preaching those causes, most people are going to be like, dude, enough, chill, you know, keep your LA thoughts and ideas to yourself.
Yeah, this is capitalism.com. Keep your liberal bullshit out of here, Bill.
Yeah. Well, I'm a very financially conservative type of guy, and
you know that cows are vegan, which just goes to show you that vegans are the cause of climate change.
That is, you've just nailed it. You have just absolutely nailed it. I mean, like, just drop the hammer, drop the mic. But if we preach, you know, like, look, I've been vegan for 31 years. I don't jive or relate to, if you spray paint someone's mink coat, no one turns around and says, oh, thank you for doing that. Tell me why you did that. They say, fuck you. Why you know, like, you push people away when you push your agenda on people, whether that's diet or religion or politics, right? And so we are a agnostic company that happens to be plant-based, but what we're doing is creating nutritious and delicious food products that anyone can relate to, and in a branding and a marketing that is also relatable. And so when we tell that story, we tell it in a relatable way that is not a niche, but something that anyone can relate to. Ryan is eating our product, but is not vegan. And that's 90 some odd % of our customers are not vegan or vegetarian. They're, you know, not even necessarily flexitarian. They're just people that like good food and good products and are happy that they're eating something that's healthy for them.
And I want to point out, like, if anybody is half listening right now and you're going to tune in for like 30 seconds, I'll make an annoying noise. All right, so tune in here. There was no data that said that this had a high search volume on Amazon. There was no Google SEO key terms for people that were looking for really hot, melt your face off vegan pork rinds. There was no one looking for this on Google or Amazon. There were no ads to copy. There was no data to suggest that this product would win. It was vision. It was vision. It was vision that was unique to Bill and the other relationships that he had, which is why I preach over and over and over again that it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is charging, what your competitors are thinking about focusing on launching, what strategies they're doing. It just matters what you want to do. And you can build whatever business you want. Whatever business you want. You get to make up the rules however you want. That's where it starts. It starts with that. And then from that vision, you build the business that you want. Alexandra, sorry. I'm steamrolling your question here.
No, that's good.
Did Bill answer your question?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Good to see you, Alexandra. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you very much. See you guys.
All right. Yes, Damien, I'm coming to you right now. Let's go. Damien, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Unmute yourself so we can hear you. Wouldn't that be awesome? There he is.
Good to see you, man. Bill, what's up?
Amen.
Damien, lay down the law, man.
Love it. So yeah, I have a lot of questions for you, but I'll just nail it down to 2. So my first question for you is, for someone like me who's a first-time founder in the CPG space, who's bootstrapping it and, you know, wearing a lot of hats at the same time, how do you prioritize? How would you recommend me prioritize and kind of like stay focused in the beginning stages? So that's my first question. And then for my second question is, I know you rode, you know, the plant-based trend and it was kind of booming off because of Impossible Foods and all those other plant-based companies. So I'm trying to build a company in a category that no one's really talking about yet, that doesn't require a lot of education, or it's not changing any habits or anything, but there are macro trends that point to it being something at a later stage. How would you approach something like this where it's not mainstream yet, but I know, or I believe that it's going to be something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. So first of all, we didn't jump into something because it was a trend. And despite Impossible and Beyond and other companies' success, it doesn't mean that everyone that's doing a plant-based product or plant-based food company is going to succeed, right?
And
there's a lot of shitty products out there.
I want Damien and everyone to know, like, I invested, the raise happened, the launch happened before Beyond went public, before Impossible had its crazy valuation, right? Now, it was close after, and Bill and I exchanged an email like, hey, did you see Beyond's IPO? That was pretty cool, right? But we didn't have that market validation yet. I just want to add that in, that like that was before then.
Yeah, and so I would say, like, in that landscape, now we're happy about the landscape we find ourselves in, but that wasn't what we entered into. You like I was just mentioning to Alexandra, is that you want to position whatever you're doing, even if you're doing something that, if you're using, I don't know what your products are, but let's say you're using, something, that is a certain grain or a certain whatever it might be, right? You want to position it that it's relatable to people, even if it's not something that is familiar to them. And it doesn't have to be the ingredient or the product. It has to be the messaging that they connect with and the benefit that everyone is seeking, right? So like for our products, there's a lot of crappy snacks, right? There's, Cheetos and all kinds of stuff that has artificial colors, and they're using colors that are banned in Europe and other parts of the world, and they're using artificial flavors and all kinds of things. And so most moms don't want to give their kids those ingredients. They don't want to eat it themselves. So plant-based or not, we're solving a problem for them, right? And what we've even evolved to is plant-based is not our primary value prop. It's lower down in our value prop hierarchy.
Yeah.
And so
I don't love these because they're plant-based.
So what is it? Taste?
As a food product, we lead with taste, right?
Yeah.
But if
taste and macros.
Yeah. Like if you look at supplements, there's all kinds of herbs and all kinds of supplements out there. And, that is part of how they differentiate. A lot of them want to be the new herb that no one's ever heard of, but they're not selling the herb that you've never heard of. They're selling the benefit that you're going to get. And so I think whatever you're in, the way you can make your story relatable to someone that solves a problem for them, that is something that when they hear what you have, holy shit, I need that. That is something that is going to be the win, rather than focusing on something that is foreign to them in a lot of ways.
So what you're saying is positioning it and selling it to what the consumer already knows and believes in, and kind of leading with the problem first, right? So just to give you a little context, I'm starting a nighttime snacking company. Usually at night, we always pick some unhealthy choices, and like me, I wasn't willing to switch to something healthy like a Greek yogurt or a protein bar. Like I still wanted my cookies, and that's actually our first product. So how would you suggest I go about positioning it? And I know like a lot of us have memories of having cookies and milk before bed. So is that kind of like what you're talking about in like relating, it to the consumer's mind?
And for more context, he's selling low sugar or sugar-free cookies that have L-theanine and other sleep supplements in the ingredient profile. Got it.
Interesting. Yeah. In fact, I'd like to speak to you separately, because we have some things that we're doing that are not dissimilar to that. But look, I think what most people don't know what L-theanine is, right? It's a nootropic that, Pepsi is using in some beverages now. They have a sleep beverage. They have actually 2 sleep beverages.
Yeah.
Most people won't know what L-theanine is. They're going to know what the benefit is, right? Drink this, it'll help you fall asleep.
But if you include like an ingredient like chamomile extract, everyone associates chamomile tea with unwinding.
You cannot assume that.
Yeah, I think you have to.
First of all, I'm actually drinking a chamomile tea right now.
And he's hyper. Look at him; it's not working.
But But no, like maybe 3%. Maybe like if we were to go super aggressive, 3% may associate chamomile me with sleeping. You cannot assume that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the benefit. You know, everyone can relate to sugar, right? You don't want to eat sugar products at night because it's
Sure.
going to make you hyper and you know,
Exactly.
disrupt your sleep. And if you have most people even have experience with that, right? You eat something at, you know, sugary food at night and
It makes
you're
you not sleep
wired.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, you get wired, right? People know if you drink caffeine at night, you're going to get wired. If you
Yeah.
drink a lot, if you eat something with a lot of sugar at night, you're going to get wired. So you reduce the sugar, you add functional ingredients that have efficacy
Yeah.
for helping promote sleep.
So you would leave it.
The ingredients are secondary. You're going to want to talk about the ingredients, but not, you're going to confuse people if you're talking about things that they don't understand.
Gotcha.
That's more of a secondary benefit. The
Yeah.
primary benefit is, you know, when you eat sugary cookies at night, that it screws up your sleep. Sugar has been known to, you know, make you more wired. You love the experience of eating a great cookie at night, but here's one that's going to taste as good as what you're used to, but it's low in sugar and it's got additional ingredients that are going to help promote a sound, restful sleep.
Makes total sense. Yeah, makes total sense. So you would definitely leave with sugar because everyone knows you shouldn't.
Everyone knows about that, right?
100%.
But definitely sell the benefit of why no sugar or limited sugar is going to promote restful sleep. And then you've enhanced that. Not only have you reduced the sugar, but you've enhanced it with functional ingredients that have proven efficacy to help promote relaxful sleep. But those have become secondary. Like you can confuse people when you're talking about what is L-theanine? Like most, you know, like you have a lot of engineers that know what L-theanine is because they've been drinking Soylent for years, but most people don't know what L-theanine is.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, this is super helpful. Bill, you're a legend.
Damien, I thought Bill was going to answer it very differently. Is what I thought was going to happen, because you asked, I'm bootstrapping. What would you suggest I focus on? I thought for sure
that was my first question. That was my first question.
I thought
your first question.
I thought
your first question, you actually
lied. Not
lied.
bootstrapping.
Your first question, you actually lied. You said you're wearing many hats, but I only see you with one. You know, I mean, what you focus on are you always focus on the priorities and the bigger picture things, and then you get into the details. And so
what would you
know,
sales?
No, I mean, first thing is creating a great product, because you could have the greatest marketing message, but if your product doesn't deliver,
I think we've done that. Ryan could adjust to that.
I think you've done a really good job, David.
Great.
I mean, I think from what I know about you, the biggest thing that's holding you back is capital constraints and your own confidence.
My confidence actually gotten a lot better over the past.
Well, you came to Capcom.
Yeah.
So I think then we'll just say your constraint is capital, in my opinion, from what I've observed in our private conversations.
Yeah, at this point, you know, I know we talked about capital before and how I viewed it as a struggle, but I don't know, over the past couple of weeks, I've been, you know, just checking boxes off the list, and the more confident I got, you know, I don't feel capital is like my concern anymore, because right now what I'm really focused on is just building it out, getting product market fit, selling through inventory. And then I feel like once we get that going, I'll have a very easy time to raise money. So I don't really.
You will. When are those pre-orders shipping?
Early December.
Okay, cool. Has the biggest bottleneck been production time then?
100%.
Okay, cool.
I'd say COGS.
Okay.
Have you found a good cookie co-packer?
No. So yeah,
I can help you with that.
Okay.
If you through Ryan or the group, I'd be happy to help you with that.
I'll put the two of you in touch, because Bill, just so you know, I have had, and Dave, I don't think Damien even knows this, I've had many conversations with my investment partner about wanting to invest in Damien's company because his product line is so good, right? And so like this has been a hurdle for him for a while, but he's nailed product.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Great. Yeah. So if you've got the product, then obviously you got to hone in on your marketing message and you know, obviously your ability to fulfill the product. How do you you know, produce it and how you fulfill it? And so those are your big ticket items, and then obviously you're going to get into the minutia and the details and all those other things. But you know, always the the bigger picture and the priorities, and then
Yeah.
you're narrowing into.
When you say bigger picture and priorities, do you just mean like the vision you had when you started off with? Or
No,
what do you
I mean, like starting with the product, right? You could, if you have the greatest marketing message,
Sure.
but you have a food product,
Yeah.
and people get the food product. And again, we know this is not the case with yours, but if someone gets a food product that they bought into your marketing message and you've been
They don't like
successful selling it, and if they don't like it, they're not coming back for seconds, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
you've paid to acquire the customer, but you're not going to do any further business with them.
Yeah,
So you
sure.
have to nail the product, right? In
Yeah,
any
yeah.
CPG.
100%. Yeah.
But
And so I
then,
guess like what I was kind of asking is like, you know, in the beginning stages, there's a lot of things that's part of a business ecosystem, right? There's sales and marketing, finance, operations, all those good stuff. So what I was asking was like, besides product, which I think we've nailed down, what would you suggest me focus on most? And does that depend on like what my skill set is and that like what should I kind of hire out? You know, does that make sense?
well, I mean, you have to focus on it all, right? You can't,
Yeah.
neglect finance and
You
accounting,
can't
and
for
you
a
can't
while.
neglect marketing.
You can't for like an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
The,
I am definitely not.
the whiskey's kicking in. The whiskey's working.
Damien, look, I think you are doing mostly the right things. The big levers: product, capital, audience, the owner's model, and your relationships for those three things, right? Yes, you need to take care of everything else. Until you have consistent supply, I would just focus on those three things. Like if supply is the biggest issue, manufacturing is the biggest issue, that's the thing that needs to be solved. Not finance and legal and Amazon and content. And you might want to make sure you have consistent supply first.
Yeah.
And at that point, then it's the audience. And until everything else, I mean,
say that last part again.
Say
that last part again. Something about audience.
And then it's audience. It's nailing down who you are launching to, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you've done a good job of building a little bit of a seed following and writing good emails to your list, right? But you've got a product problem. Your manufacturing is stuck.
Yeah, it's brutal right now.
So it's like you can't. I don't. You will just stay on a hamster wheel if you are looking for these other micro problems to solve. Yes, you need to go take care of those other pieces of the business, but there's there's this big boulder right in front of you, that big domino that needs to be knocked over.
Don't solve problems you don't really need to solve at the point.
It's kind of a theme tonight.
Yeah.
Feel me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You're feeling good since Capcom?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Good, man.
Yeah. Ever since you told me to go all in on relationship building, I've been on LinkedIn a lot, and it's worked out really well for me. So
good.
If anyone's listening, LinkedIn is a good place to be.
Good.
A lot of cool people you'll meet. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for your help.
Good to see you, man.
Of course, man. Crush it.
Thanks, Bill. You're 11.
All right, I'm going to come over to Iggy because he's blowing me up privately. Iggy, let's go. How are you, my friend?
Hey, what's going on? Doing good. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on?
Cool. I had a question for Bill. So from listening to the talk and from what I got is just how relationships are so important for business throughout your life. So I'm 25 and looking forward, I need to build relationships. Like I live here in Napa, pretty small town. I know some people, but not much. So I was wondering, question is, how do you, throughout your life, what strategies did you use or what worked for you to build relationships so that then you could reach out?
Yeah, look, at the stage of the career that I'm in, I can offer a lot of value to people, whether it's, business experience, capital raising, whatever it might be. I could send, I had Gary Vaynerchuk as an investor in a previous company. And when I was courting him, I sent him a bottle of champagne from his own wine store as, part of the relationship building, right? And I could afford paying $500, $600 for doing that. But anyone, whether they're, at where I'm at, whether you're 21, 18, 25, 45, whatever it is, everyone has something to offer someone, right? Someone can build a free website. Someone can build an email flow. Someone can, have a relationship that, you send a, you find out like someone's interest is in Pokemon cards, and, you have a Pokemon card that you're okay with parting with, and, you send it and say, look, I really appreciate the value I've gotten from you, and looking forward to building a relationship. And you offer a gift, whatever it is. So anyone has something of value to offer at any stage of your career, at any age of your life. And so it's figuring out what you can offer someone, and figuring out a creative way to stand out as well, right? So like Gary Vaynerchuk, as an example, gets probably hundreds of people a day trying to make contact with him. And it's possible to stand out and be one of those people that sparks Gary's interest, right? And so it's figuring out what the value you can offer, and figuring out a creative way you could stand out and build that. And that's the starting point to building a relationship. Once you offer something of value, even if people don't accept it, most people will appreciate it. And then from there, it's a matter of persistence. And then you'll find you'll build and in everything you do, like whatever your business is, whatever your friendships are, you're going to build value, and you're going to build relationships. And the more people get to know you and believe in what you're up to, and trust you and value you, those people are going to be people that can either help you with something or make connections in some way.
And Iggy, the biggest thing, like the number one thing, the most consistent thing that ruins this for just about everybody is they're thinking about what they can get, not what they can give. When you are 25 and you're a new entrepreneur, you have to think completely about the other person and what you can give. And you're in the 1%. If you give to that group, you build relationships. That's how you build relationships. You give and you give with nothing expected in return. But most people are like, how much do I have to give before I can pull the lever and cash the check from this relationship? It's like, how many dates do I need to go on this person until I can see them naked? It's like, it's everybody sees through that. Everybody. So you have to go in with the perspective of, I'm just here to give for no other reason than I am just here to give.
Damien was just talking about LinkedIn as a good source of networking for him. LinkedIn for me is a massive spam platform, and yep. I get cold messages all the time on LinkedIn where the message is investment opportunity. I'm raising money. You would be perfect for our investment. And delete. I've formed some relationships on LinkedIn where people are like, hey, I heard you on Rob Dyrdek's podcast or whatever it is. I appreciate that. Anything I could do for you, I'm happy to do. And I built relationships with people that have cold contacted me. And I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk in terms of name recognition or anyone like that, but I still get my share of those spam messages. And when someone is just reaching out with what they want from you, it's a dead end. When someone is offering even a friendly message like, hey, I heard you on this and enjoyed it, those are relationship building things too. You don't have to give someone something. A compliment is enough in a lot of cases.
Just focus on them. That's how you build a relationship. You feel me, Iggy?
Yep, feel you, man.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
See you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Does anybody in the green room? By the way, we still have a completely full green room. Kirsten, you're already waving at me. All right, so I'm just going to come right to you. Kirsten, what's up, my friend?
What's up, man? Bill, it is nice to meet you. The first time I've heard about you was like Ryan actually posted a case study of a group of like the Capitalism Incubator, and then it was like the long interview about like how you came with investors and stuff like that, how you properly positioned your vision. Like that was dope. Like, and it's so cool to meet you in person. Like, or not in person, at least kind of talk to you
through a screen. Well, it's great. I appreciate that, and how awesome it is to connect with you, where you are a soft-spoken, easygoing guy and you have a Metallica shirt on.
I used to be into Metallica like back in middle school, so it's kind of a throwback.
You're still in middle school. You're like 14.
Yeah. Bill, if you don't know, but I am actually one of the younger ones here. I graduated from high school like last year, so
amazing.
Yeah. So
sales.
I've never grown a beard, and I don't know if at 18 I was even able to grow like a like even a few hairs. So props to the beard at 18.
I appreciate it. I have some crazy genetics. It's wild. But
what's up, Kirthan?
I have two questions for you. One, I'm also working on an e-com brand. Basically the premise in short, it's like where I'm working on a physical products line that provides sensory reading experiences for fiction book readers. And we're starting with candles that like you burn while you read for like the sensory reading experience. Candles make a pretty good first product because margins are like obnoxiously good on candles. Like they're cheap as fuck to make. But and like the bigger vision though is to create like a huge community of book lovers and then like monetize. It's like creating the world's biggest book club and monetizing that with like a physical products line. So my first question is, since it's going to be more community based, I'm going to do this in a more organic fashion. So would you still recommend me to like go out and try to raise money when I'm doing this organically or not? Like, what would your take be on that?
Look, not every business should raise money. And Ryan mentioned a lot of people in this group are bootstrappers, and bootstrapping makes sense for certain businesses and certain entrepreneurs. But also raising money for a business, you typically want to be more established in having certain metrics of that you've proven out your product, you've proven out your concept, you've built a community, you've sold the candles. And you're showing the pathway of what the vision is materializing into and where it can go. And that's usually the point where you bring in outside investors, right? So now, again, as I mentioned before, if you have a need for capital to purchase these candles, even though you're talking about them having great margins, there are ways to do that where you're not bringing on capital and selling equity. In terms of debt, in terms of even on e-com, where there's through Shopify, there are a lot of ways
Amazon
you could
lending,
finance.
Shopify lending, PayPal lending, Cabbage lending.
Yes. So you don't want to look at raising money as the solution for every problem, right? Raising money is something that, if you have an intense capital need or you're building inventory or a variety of other things. But when you have the ability, if you're selling only e-com, to pre-sell and generate revenue that can purchase your inventory, that is another way that you could be more creative initially. But in my suggestion would be like prove the concept, prove the community, build the community, get it off the ground, and then you could show that hey, you came up with this idea, you're implementing it, you're showing that you're executing on the idea. Now here's where it can go. As an 18-year-old guy with an idea, there's a lot of founders at 18. I know, I appreciate and value. I know so many. I know a guy that's 21 right now that he was at 19. He was doing the presidential marketing campaign for Andrew Yang. And like or not like the politics, he came out of nowhere and was, in the public eye. And most of that was through digital marketing. And this guy was 19, and I value and appreciate, a lot of you guys are hustlers and making things happen, and more power to you. But at 18, going out and raising money, there's a lot that you don't know, and that people, won't necessarily have the confidence in you. So the more you could build out your platform and prove your concept, the better you're going to be positioned for people to have the confidence to write a check.
And Kirthan, I would encourage you to think about your business. You heard me say this at Capcom: community first and then. community for like you are still prioritizing product leads to community, and it is community leads to product sales. And I haven't seen you go all in on community yet. If the real vision for this business is to build the community and the world's biggest book club, go build the world's biggest book club, which is going to make you go all in on community. And in the peripheral of that, you'll sell a lot of candles and chairs and incense and whatever else you decide to put in that. Like, go community first, and everything else will take care of itself.
For sure. That actually helps, because my second question was like, as a young dude, how would I build credibility as a founder? But you guys were saying just go do the thing and then just show that it's happening, basically.
That's a fair summary.
Yeah. I mean, idea. Everyone's got an idea. You ever hear people that say, when they hear about a business that becomes successful, I had that idea. Okay, good for you. What did you do about it, right? The business that became successful, they actually implemented it, and they took the risk, and they made it happen. And that's, a massive gulf between just having an idea. And so the more you could show that you can execute and take that idea and turn it into a business, that's confidence building in and of itself.
Yeah. That helps.
Good to see you, Kirtan.
I'm inspired by. I'm assuming you're 18 because you just graduated high school.
I'm 19. I'm 19.
19. Okay, well, you're an old man then. But I'm inspired by you at that age to be putting yourself out there, joining this group, taking the risks. You've got a really bright future ahead of yourself. And with that shirt, I would say rock on, man.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it, dude.
Of course.
Take care, guys.
Of course.
All right. See you, bud. All right, we're gonna get 90 seconds on two more people. We'll do one female, one male. So Paulina, you're up next. Paulina, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm great. I don't have a question though. I'm just hanging out.
Oh, well, good to see you. Give us a 90-second update then.
The 90-second update is we're just feeling much better since CapCon and Brooke and everything. We're kind of okay with being a little slower, right? Because Manny has a job now, so he just has his focus is a little more diverted. But like, it's okay. That doesn't mean that we're failing, right? So
you're just early.
Okay, yeah.
You're not even slow. You're just early.
Right. So it's like when I have these spurts of like, okay, like today I just went to a coffee shop and started reaching out to like guy blogs all day long. And I'm like, okay, I'll just do this for a little while, or like I'll just write a blog post once a week about fatherhood or having children or whatever. So it's not like we're just like chugging along, you know what I mean? And that's okay. Whereas before I'm like, oh my God, we're not selling enough bags. Like just feeling better.
I'm a failure. Burn it down. Start over. Yeah. Yeah. Keep building relationships. You guys are really good at that.
Thank you.
All right. Good to see you.
And Damien, I was at Natural Products Expo East in Philly during CapCon. I was appreciative of the invite Ryan gave me, but I know you guys were in great hands with Derek Halpern.
Yeah. That's true indeed. All right. And to close us out tonight, Andy Lang, you're up. Andy, how are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys?
You got a hell of a mic.
Andy's getting serious. He's taking off the glasses. He's got that mega mic.
I better pour another glass. My goodness.
Sure.
Andy, what can we do you for?
Running into problems with production. We've got a product that we're packaging very differently. The response is great, but it's not packaged like at all the way that it normally is in the industry. So we have the product and we have to order the packaging separately and then do it ourselves. And it's killing us. Sales are slow, but every time we actually have
mean.
What's that?
It's killing us. What does killing us mean?
We don't have the sales to pay people to do it. We're trying to do it ourselves, and it's just It's eating us up. It's a massive roadblock.
So this is a genuine question because I know nothing about your business. We haven't interacted. So when you say it's killing you, is it killing you because your customers hate it, or is it killing you because you're driving yourself crazy trying to solve a problem that may not need to be solved?
It's trying to solve a problem, and we cannot get answers like in our industry.
And is it hurting your sales?
I would say it's hurting our sales because we have influencers lined up, and we just can't get these things packaged fast enough.
Okay, hang on, hold on. Bill sees where I'm going here. All right. So your packaging sucks. It doesn't look like anybody else's. Are you confident in your product?
Oh yeah, the product is good and the packaging is good. It's the getting it together.
So hold on. What's your product?
It's soap.
It's soap. Okay. So I literally bought 3 bars of soap yesterday with no packaging on them. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that's the route you need to go, but are influencers going to not like your soap because you have no packaging?
No, they love it. They love our product.
So I'm failing to see a problem here, Andy.
Makes sense.
And would it be fair to say that it may not be ideal, but you could sell a bar of soap that didn't have any packaging on it?
We could do that.
You could take a sale and an influencer could use and like and promote your product without the packaging. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
So are we killing ourselves because it's hurting the company, or is it killing it because it bothers us and we're annoyed and we're trying to solve a problem that may not be a problem?
Yeah, I would say our packaging was seen as a strength, but maybe it's not. Maybe the challenges that it brings up make it way more of a difficulty as opposed to a strength. So
it can
why not
be
move
a
on from
strength and still be not necessary. You can be good at it and it still be optional in the process. You can be great at it and it not add to sales. You can be good at it and the customer could still not give a fuck. Like you can be good at it and it doesn't impact anything. You feel me?
I do. It makes a lot of sense. It does. It makes a lot of sense. The packaging and the messaging was part of the core of the product. And when we presented it, it was like, oh my gosh, this is really awesome, really cool. But in the end, it probably isn't going to affect our sales if we have or don't have it. It might be negligible.
It still can be part of the overall presentation, but you may not get to launch with it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I always say never, never, never delay the sales day. Even if your product isn't ready, the day you set sales, we make our incubator students take pre-orders. Because sales force momentum and they force you to do things like, I guess I'm going to have to ship some product without the packaging. And then you discover nobody cares. And then when people reorder and they get it in beautiful packaging, they're surprised.
Got it. Makes sense. That's my goal. That's my focus now.
I mean, from my perspective, roadblocks are usually not the physical thing, but in our mind. And once we can, get either outside perspective or self-reflect to see what, is this actually something that is affecting us in a meaningful way, or are we allowing it to because we're creating, that part of our story that really isn't as important as the actual product. And so when you get out of that, then you could really, you're in the soap business, you should be cleaning up. So once part of being able to do that is remove the roadblock from the mindset.
Got it. That's awesome advice. I really, really appreciate it.
Good. You got it, Andy. Good to see you.
Take care.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to drop a pun.
Bill, I love hanging out with you, my friend. Thank you for being such a good steward of my capital and so much fun to chat with.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here and plugged into your community. And it sounds like so many of the people in your community are up to big things, and that's really exciting. And any way I can help, I'd be happy to help. The cookie guy, some of the other people, I probably have some direct connect ways to help, but really appreciate what you're up to, Ryan, and appreciate you being involved with us. And that's what relationships are for. That's the theme. If we unpack everything we've spoken about, it's about building quality relationships, providing value, doing the right thing, and having fun doing it.
I must say, I have a few things on my resume, but the one that I may be most proud of is I am a Hella Hot Challenge champion. Where
all right.
I have shoved all of the Hella Hot outstanding food products in my mouth.
Yeah.
Without cracking a face.
Yeah, but you know what? It took you an hour and 39 minutes to do that. We got to next time we have to do this in 5 minutes and have you pound that thing down and see what happens.
We'll do it live.
And you had some influence with that whiskey. The whiskey's gonna make everything more tolerable.
That's why I make my followers drink when I'm doing a show.
That's the business advice for the day, right? Get your customers drunk first, then they're going to buy whatever you're selling.
Now buy my shit.
Buy my shit, damn it. That's the closing line.
Outstandingfoods.com, Amazon, Walmart, Whole Foods, everywhere that vegan pork rinds are sold. Bill, it's good to see you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out with us.
My man, so much fun. Appreciate it.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys.